I would like to talk a moment about the doctrine of Epikeia, which is the central doctrine of traditionalism, upon which they justify all of their operations during the Great Apostasy. Well, Epikeia, first of all, is not really a doctrine, but traditionalists have made it one. What Epikeia is simply the setting aside of the law in a particular case which the lawgiver did not legislate for. Now, a common example given in the manuals is a law in a city forbidding the opening of the gates of the city at a certain time of day. A fire breaks out in the city, requiring the opening of the gates to save the citizens. The law prohibits it. What should we do? Well, you cast the gates open. The lawgiver doesn't happen to be present to authorize this, but you do it anyway to save the citizens. The gates should be thrown open for the salvation of the citizens. St. Thomas Aquinas states, legislators in framing laws attend to what commonly happens, although if the law be applied to certain cases, it will frustrate the equality of justice and be injurious to the common good which the law has in view. He also says, it is not possible to lay down rules of law which will apply to every single case. Alright? What lawgiver is going to sit down and decide, okay, what could happen? A fire breaks out in the city. Okay, we'll throw the gates open. He's not going to worry about it. He's going to say, the gates shall be closed from 6 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. And that's for the common good because that keeps evil people out, good people in, whatever. It protects everyone. So, okay, let's get back to our fire. Because this is what happened. A fire broke out and the gates were thrown open. Alright, the gates are thrown open. The citizens get out of town so they don't burn up with the fire. What should they do next? Well, this is not discussed in the manuals, but the gates are still open, we'll presume. Why aren't the citizens forming a bucket brigade to bring water from the stream next to the city to put the fire out in the city? Okay, so that they can save the city. Wouldn't that be one of their duties as citizens? Isn't one of our duties as a citizen to protect our own country, our own state, our own county, our own city? We are also supposed to promote the common good, and putting out the fire and stopping the destruction is certainly for the common good. Okay, and yet what happens now? The lawgiver returns and he finds the city is totally abandoned by the traditionalists. They went out of the gates and started building their own little cities rather than saving the city that was on fire, the one in which they live. Okay? And this is the big problem. The traditionalists ran out of the city and founded their own little cities. The city is the church. The church was on fire. Now, there were a few who started a bucket brigade, and the fire is now out. The city is pretty well demolished inside the gates. The gates are closed again. They will be open to admit people who want to come back into the church, to rebuild the church. The traditionalists, though, they just ran out of the city and started their own little cities, because that's what you see has happened to them. And so Epikeia is led, the way it's applied amongst traditionalists is it justifies them to administer sacraments in an, quote, extraordinary case. One which the lawgiver did not foresee. And it's quite logical that the lawgivers who wrote the 1917 Code of Canon Law did not foresee the Great Apostasy. But we can't just throw these laws out the window. If you read about Epikeia, we are not allowed to judge the law, and yet the traditionalists judge the law even. They judge that the new rite of Holy Week put in 1955 is wrong. That judgment is reserved to the Pope. They have made themselves their own popes. the Society of St. Pius tends to judge that the 62 Missal is fine. That's a judgment reserved to the Pope. If we're going to take the position that John 23rd through Francis I are all popes, why didn't the Society keep the Novus Ordo? It started with it. And see, Epikeia has been stretched way beyond its potential. It's for a particular case. What we have now is an Epikeian church. Traditionalists could be called the Epikeians. The only thing they differ on is their position in regard to the claimant to the papacy, whether Francis I is Pope, is not Pope, or maybe half Pope. But on the main principles, they are Epikeians. Not Catholics, but Epikeians. And so let's not get caught up in this Epikeia mess. Let's come back into the church. The fire's finally out. It burned itself out pretty much. Very few helped bring water to put it out. There's a heck of a lot of rebuilding to be done in here. So let's get back inside the church and rebuild the church. Rather than being out on those other little towns, which I got a little news for them. The church is built firm on a rock. They're built on sand. They don't realize it. It's going to come out from underneath them someday. They'll be casting their gates open again to get out of their cities, and they might not even open. They might find themselves swallowed up in quicksand. We need to be on the firm rock of the church. We need to start carrying some 2x4s back in and get started rebuilding, folks.